Hello everyone, it's Steve O'Driscoll here. I work for the Recovery College. A lot of people might know me, and I'm bored the same as everybody else. So I thought it'd be a good idea today to do the self-harm awareness session and do it in two parts because it's very hard to keep people's attention for 2 hours on YouTube. So here it goes. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get something out of it. If you see something in these videos that you think is really good information, please share it with others, yeah, because that's the whole idea of this, to break down the stigma for people that self-harm, because it is taboo in society, still is, and probably still will be for an awful long time to come. So I wouldn't have a right to sit here unless I self-harm myself, and I actually self-harmed for 20 years and I've managed to come to terms with it. And when I say self-harm for 20 years, that was by cutting myself, overdosing and basically abusing my body, I suppose, with intoxicating substances, chemicals, alcohol, anything I'll get my hands on. I'm in a better place in life now, although I still say I self-harm. I control what I eat, but to me that's a lot safer than waking up and cutting myself. And I am getting a lot better at that, because I've got an extra special somebody in my life that makes sure that I do eat. Well, two people actually, three I should say. So, first part of the session, or the first video, I'm going to go through what is self-harm. Then we'll go through types of self-harm, who self-harms, and then I'll share my story, and we'll end that video there, because when I've shared my story, you'll probably want to lie down for half an hour. I don't look for any sympathy. It's something I went through, and as I was going through it, I thought that was normal life. I didn't know any different. So here we go then. Okay, so what is self-harm? Self-harm is obviously when somebody hurts or harms themselves intentionally, okay? It's not attention seeking, as many people in society think. I hate that word, attention seeking. It's actually used as a coping mechanism, and it's so as the person is in control of what happens to them. And what I mean by that is, when I tell you my story, you'll probably see that most of my life was out of control, and the self-harm was the only thing I could control. I could control when I cut myself, where I cut myself, how I cut myself, yeah? Couldn't control any other areas of my life, but that was the one thing I did have control over, yeah? Someone who self-harms does it in a high state of emotion, distress, or inner turmoil. Some people will plan in advance, others do it on the spur of the moment. And I have to say, I did it that regularly. It almost became like an addiction. It was something I had to do. It was something I had planned. When I was going out on the drink for the night, I would have all the stuff ready for when I got home, yeah, to harm myself. So it was something I had planned. It was an addiction. I have to say it was an addiction. Some of us might self-harm only once or twice, and I really hope people don't self-harm at all, actually, because it's not a nice way to live your life. Some of us harm ourselves without even knowing it, and what I mean by that is we dabble with recreational drugs on a Friday night in the big market here. You might have unsafe sex, binge drink, you know, all these little things, and that's actually self-harm, yeah. Self-harm is nearly always carried out in private, and the wounds and scars are kept hidden. And to me, personally, doctors and nurses are just helpless because they just don't get it. They don't understand it. And we all know, or have heard of anorexia and bulimia, eating disorders. Anorexia, obviously, depriving yourself of food, and bulimia, the opposite way around. They are now actually classed as self-harm again as well now. And I think if you relate back to what I was saying, it's all about the controlling what you do eat or what you don't eat, yeah? So it's all about control. So, types of self-harm. Probably all sitting there now. I'll ask you to think for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Just think of some types of self-harm, right? There's no wrong answers, yeah? And then I'll go through a list here. And I have to say, I sat for about 10 minutes and I come up with about, I think, 25 different types of self-harm. So it's not just cutting. Okay, have you had time to think? Cutting, the obvious one, we'll start with that one, yeah? I think that's obvious, self-explanatory. Another one is skin picking, which is also known as excoriation disorder. And that can be quite serious because people sometimes pick their skin until it becomes red raw, it bleeds, and then it is, of course, prone to infections and bad stuff like that, yeah? Another one is burning. That can be with water, it could be with flame, or it could be with chemicals. And I have to say, if you burn yourself with flame, be careful, because you can actually be given a custodial sentence. What's that? I think everybody's saying, yeah, you can actually be given a custodial prison sentence, yeah? Why, you're asking, yeah? Okay, so if you set fire to yourself with a flame and you happen to pass out, there is a chance that that fire could spread. and endanger other people's lives, right? So be very, very careful with that one. Another one is over-exercising or under-exercising. Some people push that to the extremes. There are safe guidelines, but people have always got to go that extra bit, and it's actually classed as self-harm, okay? Taking dangerous risks, another thing I was guilty of, although I didn't realise it back in the day. Driving cars to high speeds, taking negative risks, yeah, to get that buzz, get that thrill. And some people actually do extreme sports. By that I mean, the easiest way for me to explain it is throwing yourself off the side of a cliff or a mountain with just a suit on and a couple of wings. But they do get that adrenaline rush, and that is actually classed as self-harm. Another one is self-poisoning. Not going to go into that one. Household chemicals are used and stuff like that. Another one is overdosing, which you probably heard me mention earlier on in this video. I was guilty of that one on a regular basis, and I would overdose on prescription medication or legal drugs, sad to say. Hair pulling is another big one, also known as trichotillomania, and that can be quite serious as well, because that can actually be prone to infection, yeah. Okay. Nail biting. Bet you never thought of that one, eh? Loads of people bite their nails, but I suppose it depends the extremities that you bite your nails. Friction burns, big thing at school. We used to have a thing called the Chinese torture, where you'd have friction burns on your wrists. Somebody else would do it to you, or you would get the wraps on the knuckles with the cards, playing cards, and breaking the skin, bleeding, prone to infections and stuff like that. This is a big one to me, headbutting things and punching things. But I do understand now that that is more prevalent in people with learning disabilities, because obviously they're trying to express their emotions, which they sometimes have difficulty with, and because they get frustrated, they'll headbutt and punch things, yeah. So I do believe that is more prevalent in learning disabilities, yeah. Okay. School children, of course, will use it as well. Try and get control and get what they want, yeah. Alcohol and drug abuse, self-explanatory. Reopening older healing wounds, I was guilty of that one. If I'd been at the hospital and my wounds had been dressed and stuff, I would wait until there was a scab on, I would pick it and open the wound again, and then have to wait for it to heal again. Mental abuse, still guilty of that one myself. I mean, I'm sitting here doing 2 videos today, and as soon as I watch these back, I'll think, what on earth, what a waste of time. But I've just got to learn to try and believe in myself and trust myself, so I'll give anything a go, yeah, and I encourage people out there to do it as well. Get asked to do something, it's not going to endanger you, give it a go. Life-changing, right? So, mental abuse, what I mean by that is, like I say, I'll do these 2 videos, and as soon as I finish, I'll pick it to part. I'll pick the whole thing to bits, criticising myself, yeah? But I'm using that as a positive now, because I'm using that as a way to improve for everything I do in the future. Okay? So you can turn these things around, yeah? Turn them on the head, I suppose you would call it. Inserting objects under the skin. Now, people do that by getting piercings now, ball bearings, you know, the stainless steel bars under the back and stuff like that. But people do insert other things under the skin, such as the insides of Bic pens and stuff like that. Won't go into that one, yeah. Use your imagination. Amputation. That, to me, is the most serious type of self-harm anybody could ever contemplate. And it does happen. I'll leave that one at that, eh? Anorexia and bulimia, I'll just mention it again. Eating disorders, controlling what you do eat or what you don't eat. And yet again, classed as self-harm. It's all about control. It's all about control. Cosmetic surgery is another big one. You probably see lots of women, Katie Price, Ruby Wax, look like come out of a wind tunnel or something like that, you know what I mean? That will affect them big style in later life. Okay, so you might look good for a few years, but in later life, believe you me, you'll have big problems. Self-sabotage, I suppose that comes down to the mental abuse thing. And lots of people do self-sabotage. I've seen it myself. And I get it, I understand it. And what I mean by that is if you get asked to do something and you know you're really, 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 really going to get a lot out of it and enjoy it, you'll eventually talk yourself out of it and make excuses not to go and miss out on opportunities. And I do understand that one, but honestly, I can't encourage you enough. Get an opportunity in life, take it. And I'll finish off the different types here with this one. Tattoos, yeah. Now that seems acceptable by just about everybody in society, but it's actually self-harm. Little story about tattoos. When I stopped cutting myself, I wasn't getting that release. Yeah. So I started getting tattoos for the bit of a pain, do you know what I mean, to release those chemicals, and got to the point where I actually bought a tattoo gun off the internet and started tattooing myself. I was actually enjoying it, so I had to get rid of it. Not advisable, people, okay? Okay, so I hope I haven't missed any out there, but you know, the list, it's never ending, really. Okay, so who self-harms? It's on the rise amongst young people, as I'm sure you can imagine, but it can occur at any age. Now, this is a fact here, which I've looked into, but I totally disagree with it. It's more common in women than men. Anybody know why I disagree with that one? Well, I'll tell you why I disagree with it. Because I think if you're a female and you've got a problem in your life and you want a bit of support, you're far more likely to pick the phone up and phone a female friend or a male friend even and express yourself and tell them how you're feeling. Yeah, get it off your chest, as I say. But as a male, it's that macho thing. We always bottle things up, which can make us even more unwell, yeah? Honestly, because what I mean by bottling things up, most men will have this perception. If they walk into the bar on a Friday night and tell their mate that they're struggling with mental health, they'll be ridiculed. And that is why I think these figures, it's not more common in women than men. It's common amongst everybody, yeah. It's just that men don't speak about it. Another little fact, gay and bisexual people are more likely to self-harm. I think that one's quite obvious because they're struggling with their sexuality, who they are, you know, and all the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and hormonal stuff that goes on there. So they use that as a way of coping, I suppose you would say. Sometimes groups of young people will self-harm together, and I find that quite frightening because social media can be an absolutely amazing thing. Changed my life, that's for sure, but it can also be very dangerous. School children are comparing injuries online, and that can actually force somebody else into harming themselves. It's like a competition with them, like a game. There's nothing funny about it, you know. Don't jump on the bandwagon and cut yourself just to please your friends, because they're not friends, yeah. Okay, and if you've got a friend who self-harms, if you get a problem in your life, it's far more likely that you might actually try self-harming because you know that is how that person or your friend copes. Self-harm is more common in some subcultures. By that I mean goths and emos are vulnerable. These are the people with, you know, the pale white makeup on, you know, they look death warmed up, I suppose you would say, yeah. And to be in certain parts of their groups, it's like an initiation that you've got to cut yourself to self-harm. Not good, yeah. Create your own group, eh? We don't self-harm. Don't be forced into anything by anybody, yeah. And this is a big one for me. People who self-harm are more likely to have experienced emotional or sexual abuse during childhood. I'll let you in a little secret, yeah. My life was turned upside down when I was about 14 or 15 because I was being sexually abused by one of my dad's friends. And I actually tried to end my life. So that was how I found out about self-harm, okay? If anybody's abusing you or interfering with you or doing anything that they shouldn't do, report it to somebody. Because you're not the one that's guilty or wrong. They are. And get it dealt with, yeah? Nobody deserves to be abused by anybody. Okay, and school children and students are self-harming because of the pressure put on them to get good grades, bullying, incorrect use of social media. Good grades, come on, this society, this world we live in, you get 10 A levels or whatever, or O levels or whatever, what are you going to do with them? There is no employment. I think there's far too much emphasis put on children to get good grades. Teach them life skills so they know how to cope when they're out there in society when they leave school. Bullying's another big one, online and one-to-one, that kind of stuff, and group bullying as well. Don't be a part of that. You know, everybody's got a right to life and a decent quality of life at that. And if somebody's self-harming, don't goad them about it. You know what I mean? Support them, be there, listen. And social media, like I say, a really powerful tool, but can become very, very, very dangerous. So that's got to be managed in the correct way. Okay, it's time for you guys to sit back now and I'll share my story with you, okay? Like I say, I don't look for sympathy. When all this was going on, didn't know any different, so that was normal life to me. And I've come to terms with it. I've got over it. Right, the only part of this I disagree with is that I'm 50. See that? Didn't even know my own age. I'll be nearly 52 this year, right? I'll let you make your own decision. I've told I'm 52, so I'll take that. That's the only part I disagree with. Anyway, 51 and a half, 52 years old, moved over from County Cork in Ireland. Had an amazing childhood, really, really happy childhood. I mean, I actually lived in the mansion house in Jesmond in the Lord Mayor's residence. So if there was an event there or a do, I used to eat the finest of food, the leftovers, and I met some quite famous people. I was taken to school in the Lord Mayor's car on occasion, Daimler OBB1 with a chauffeur. Sounds funny, doesn't it? But I got a lot of ridicule for it. Yeah, I'm not posh, as you can probably tell, but there you go. So I did have a privileged childhood. 1977, met Muhammad Ali, one-to-one basis. Come on, life-changing stuff, never happen again in this lifetime. So, I have to say, I really, really did enjoy my childhood. You know, my mum used to do her best for me, buy me things, always made sure I got what I needed. So I'm forever grateful for that. Anyway, when I left primary school, I went to a secondary school called St. Cuthbert's, and it was an all-boys school. And I still say that's where some of my problems started. Why, you might ask? Because when I left school, I didn't know how to interact with females. I didn't have any female friends. So I still think these boys' schools, girls' schools don't work for me. You need to be interacting. Okay. And it was a Catholic school as well, so you can imagine how strict it was. But it was what it was. I got through it. I left school, I had 3 days off. Some people might have heard of this. I got a YTS, youth training scheme. Apprenticeship, I suppose you would call it. And I signed up as a joiner for Newcastle City Council. And I have to say, I used to love joinery, and now I just can't do joinery. I mean, I can do it, but I've just got no interest in it. I've got shelves need putting up in the house here, and I've just got no motivation. So, like I say, I left school, YTS, 3 days off, and my dad thought, oh, it's time to introduce my son to drink. So he took me to the local bar in Jesmond, the Cradlewell. Lots of people probably know it, and I was given my first drink. I was introduced to a lot of his friends as well, or acquaintances. And I was a hell of a pool player at the time. I could have went professional with it actually, but the drink took over. Anyway, I was introduced to drink, and my dad introduced us to somebody, one of his friends, and unbeknownst to him, I was being sexually abused by this guy. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't tell my dad, I couldn't tell my mum, because I thought it would just split the family up. And so I went home that night after I'd been abused, and I cut my wrist, yeah. That wasn't a self-harm attempt at all. That was actually a suicide attempt. I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to live. Obviously, I wasn't successful. And as a self-harm, do you know when you cut yourself or you take an overdose to end your life, you wake up the next morning, you think, I can't even get that right. That happened to me on many occasions. I thought I was a failure at everything, yeah. Anyway, I cut my wrists, rushed into hospital, stitched up, obviously, and then my mum took us to the doctor. I was put on antidepressants, which I'm still on to this day. It's part of my life now. I'm not ashamed of taking tablets. If it keeps us well, so what? So I was put on antidepressants, and it's a strange thing, but I just couldn't face reality. So I started abusing the antidepressants as well, because I couldn't wake up in the morning and just, I had to have something to take the edge off, basically. Kept getting flashbacks, stuff like that, yeah. And I thought drink would block things out, and drink became my life. I'll be honest with you. I used to drink until I collapsed. Didn't know when to stop. People thought I had a problem. I didn't think I had a problem. I liked to drink, that was it. But the extent I was drinking was just horrendous, yeah. And it was affecting everything. Like I say, finances, health, absolutely everything was going downhill. And because I didn't know many females, I was in the bar in 1992. 1991 it would have been actually. And I seen this girl sitting on her own. So I went over and introduced myself. Called Jan, she was. Got on like a house on fire, and I thought, God, I've met somebody who likes to drink like me. Well, believe it or not, 6 weeks later we got married. It was the happiest day of my life to a point. And give an example of married life, eh? So I do at the altar, at church in Heaton, we had one, St. Teresa's, I think. Came outside, she walked out in front of a bus, and I put my foot through a plate glass window, which cost me £394, I think, back in the day. A lot of money, yeah. Obviously, she didn't take her own life, thank God, but that was just our life. We loved each other that much, but we couldn't live together. Couldn't live with each other, couldn't live without each other, if that makes sense. We're together 10 years, and we probably spent only about two of them years, actually, as a couple, if you want to say that, married couple. Anyway, in 1995, my dad was diagnosed with a brain tumour, and I watched him pass away in St. Oswald's. That was a frightening time. I tried to block a lot of that out as well. And when he passed away, that was when I told my mum, my sister and stuff why I was self-harming. They said I should have told them, but my excuse was my dad would have spent the rest of what life he had in jail. Also in 1995, me and my wife Jan had a beautiful little girl called Victoria. You probably notice when I say Victoria, or Vicky, I should say Vicky, smile comes on my face because what an amazing person. Yeah. Vicky was born and absolutely adored that child. I always made sure everything was bought for her before I had my drink money. Yeah. And obviously I was working for the council, so my wife was looking after Vicky, and very stressful. And social services became involved in our lives. I had a lot of grudges against that, and I was very bitter about it, but when I look back, it was probably the best thing that could have happened, because I wasn't capable of looking after Vicky. You know what I mean? Very hard thing to say, but I'll hold my hands up and say I failed. Yeah. There you go. Anyway, Vicky was born, social services became involved, and Vicky was actually adopted. And the decision was made about me 20 odd years ago, and it stood with me for 20 odd years, and I still say I had the right to be reassessed at some point down the line, because people do change, they do turn their lives around, and I'm quite happy to say I'm one of them people that has done that. But that decision stayed with me for a lot of years. Anyway, so when Vicky was adopted, you can probably imagine that caused even more stress between me and my wife, and we'd spend a week together, 2 weeks together, 5 minutes together, argue, split up, try it again. And I actually got a lovely, what's that smile again, a lovely apartment in Critters Park, you know, them horrible high-rise things. And my wife had a flat in Gates, I'll never forget. She rang me up, give it another go, Steve. So I walked across Tyne Bridge, got to her flat in Gateshead. And when I got there, there was my matching luggage, 2 black bags full of my stuff. So we had another major argument, started walking back over the bridge, and I thought, what is the point of this? I threw the 2 black bags over and I climbed over myself, fully intending to end my own life. Tell you a little something here as well. People who commit suicide, they don't want to end their lives. All they want to do is end their pain, and that is the only way they can see of ending it. Yeah, there is support out there. Ask for it. I suppose I was one of the lucky ones because I didn't have the bottle to let go as much as I wanted to. So when you hear that as being the coward's way out, committing suicide, I beg to differ. It's one of the bravest things anybody could ever do. Anyway, after about half an hour, I was encouraged back over the railing and put in the back of an ambulance, and the only follow-up treatment I got after that event was I was taken back to my flat in Critters Park. It wasn't home, it was just somewhere to crash out. Threw the keys in the door and just left us, yeah? So there you go. Like I say, I was on lots of medication at this time, and drink wasn't quite doing it again for me, so I started abusing my prescription medication. Anything just to get away from reality, yeah? And people at worked for the council for 10 years. They knew I liked to drink, not the amount I was drinking though. Well, noticing I was getting more and more unwell, I was behaving oddly, wouldn't turn up for work for weeks on end, and I was paid off. They decided to pay me off on the sick. Oh, wonderful, you might think. They gave me £10,000 cash and a pension. To somebody with a lifestyle that I had, giving me £10,000 was just fueling my habit, yeah. Because like I was saying, yeah, drink wasn't doing it anymore. So I started smoking cannabis. I must admit, when I started smoking cannabis, I thought, this is great. Away from reality, different planet. And then cannabis wasn't doing it, was it? I needed more and more of that. And I ended up with a £200-300 a week cocaine habit. I must admit, when I was taking coke, I thought I could rule the world. I thought I was invincible. No. It was absolutely ruining my life. I'm not kidding. Finances, health, relationships, absolutely everything was going out the window, yeah? And because they thought it was great, we'll pay them off, that took the structure out of my life. I didn't have a job to go to, something to get up for in the morning. So I got to a point where I got up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, start drinking, maybe collapse again at 4 o'clock in the morning. No structure in my life, nothing to live for. And drinking just totally out of control. And I'll never forget, I woke up one morning in Critters Park. There was some undesirables, and I won't call them friends, I didn't even know who they were. And I had a half a can of cider left. I stood up, asked them to leave, and as I was swinging it back, come straight out, the back way there, yeah. So I knew something was wrong. I knew my organs were starting to fail. And I'd heard about Plummer Court. Ever heard of it? Drug and Alcohol Service in Newcastle at one time. Went down there at 9 o'clock in the morning. You could self-refer at the time. Lucky, because you can't do that now, I don't think. Got breathalyzed at 9:30 in the morning. 3.5 times over the limit. So that'll tell you kind of the extent of my problems. They agreed to give me a detox, go in the morning, get breathalyzed, stay there all day, be given medication with other people, let out at night with more medication, go back the next day, breathalyzed. You know what I mean? Backwards, forwards for a week. Touch wood. I think it's about 20 odd years later, I still haven't had a drink. I managed to stop drinking. And I have to say I'm quite proud of that, because I'm a person that never thought I could stop drinking. I thought drink would end my life. I had to be really strong in detox, because before I got in the door of Plummer Court, I was offered temazepam, diazepam, heroin, I think I was offered, coke I was offered. So I had to be really, really strong. And people I was detoxing with were saying, when we get out tonight, you come for a pint. And I was like, I'm here for a reason. Anyway, I came out of detox after that week. And like I say, I stopped drinking. And because I stopped drinking, I had a clearer head. So when I felt like harming myself, cutting myself, overdosing, I was able to think it through in my head. So I got everything under control, and I actually stopped self-harming. Something else I never thought I'd be able to do. And when I stopped drinking, I noticed my health was getting better. I had a bit more money in my pocket. But I was on benefits because I'd blown all the money. And because I had no job, I thought I've got to get some structure. Health's getting better, a bit more finances, but I need something to get up for in the morning. So I got a fiddle job for the Telly West Arena. I was a runner for all the pop groups. Robbie Williams did Nebworth, Westlife, Meat Loaf, you know, all these famous people. And somebody reported me the benefits agency were working. Never forget, I got a phone call of the benefits one morning. Is that Mr. O'Driscoll? I said, it is. They said, we believe you're working, Mr. O'Driscoll. We want you to come in the police interview. And me being me, I said, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm at work. Not a good idea to say it to the benefits agency, right? Went in on the police interview the next morning, was interviewed by police and benefits agency staff, and I was awarded 20 pence a fortnight to live on for 2 years. Yes, it's true, 20 pence. 20. It was gyros at the time, right? About 6 months down the line, I got another phone call off them asking why I wasn't cashing my gyros. Pretty obvious, isn't it? You're not going to go to the post office for 20 pence. So I'd lost that. And I also ended up a hell of a lot of money in debt with rent and stuff. And my daughter Vicky, in my mind, 20 odd years, waking up in the morning, going to bed at night, various points throughout the day for 20 years, just thinking, is she safe? Is she okay? How's she doing in life? And I think it's Vicky that's kept me going, actually, because I always said I've got to meet her just to find out and tell her why what happened. So I think that's what's kept me going. Anyway, like I say, I'd lost the structure in my life again. My focus was on Vicky, and it was it's like a prison sentence, yeah. But anyway, so life was getting better. 2005, next big thing to hit me was I was diagnosed with cancer, right? Just when you think things can't get any worse, they do. 5 operations, 10 goes of radiotherapy, and as I was in and out of the hospital, I was staying at my wonderful mother's to recover. And I was actually evicted from my 1-bedroom apartment in Cruddas Park, believe it or not. So there I was, homeless as well. I'd heard about the Macmillan nurses and all the wonderful work that they're supposed to do. And I struggled on the corridor with my drip and asked them for some support. And I was told because I wasn't an inpatient, I was entitled to no support whatsoever off them. Luckily for me, there was an off-duty social worker. 2 interventions with social workers in my life. The first one was with my daughter, the adoption process. Very bitter, but was the best thing that could happen because I wasn't capable of looking after a child. Second intervention, this was an off-duty social worker. I wasn't on a case, and she took me on board, yeah. So there are some real amazing people out there. Anyway, she took me to one side, asked what the problem was. I told her. She said, look, I'll make some inquiries for you. True to her word, she got back to me. couple of days later, she said, look, I'll put you in touch with the Richmond Fellowship. And I thought, oh my God, some religious organisation there on the hillside with a prayer mat or something. Never heard of them. But they actually provide support for people with mental health problems in the community. Now, this social worker knew how unwell I was, and so she excluded myself, didn't want to come out of the house, no outlook on life really. So she actually agreed to come along and speak on my behalf for the interview for this supported housing. True to her word, she spoke on my behalf, and I was awarded a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bycare wall. There you go, moving up in the world there, from Cruddas Park to Bycare. Now I could say a 1-bedroom flat in Bycare, but it doesn't quite sound the same as a 1-bedroom apartment in Bycare. Okay, so I was awarded a 1-bedroom flat in Bycare. I was getting support sessions twice a week. Support worker would come in, how's things, Steve? And just to make it easier for me, I would just say, I'm okay, I'm doing all right. I wasn't. But we all know mental health problems, it's easier just to say you're okay. She realised something was wrong and started encouraging me to get out of the flat. It might sound easy to people. Don't know if you know the Bycare wall, where Morrison's is, big car park in between. Come out of your flat, walk across the car park, cup of coffee in Morrison's and a chat, come back home. Sounds easy, but it was really, really challenging. But you know what? I was really starting to enjoy getting out and about. I was lucky, it was the 50th anniversary of the Richmond Fellowships, celebrations all around the country, and I was invited to the Baltic to an event one night. Never forget, I came outside my flat, pouring the rain, freezing cold, windy, much like it is every day in Bycare. And I thought, make an effort and go along. I was sitting at the Baltic on my own at a table with a glass of orange juice, can you believe it? And I got a tap on the shoulder and I looked around, all I could see was a pair of kneecaps. This guy's like 6'7". Sat down and it was just as tell as Mark Thorpe, National Service User Lead. Saying that to me was like double Dutch, and I didn't know what a service user was. I do now, but I didn't then. And he asked a lot of questions and I was very honest with him, and he didn't bat an eyelid, and he showed a lot of empathy and understanding, and he shared a bit of personal stuff about him. So I thought, you know what, I can connect with this guy, he's an okay guy. He explained they produced a magazine called No Label Required, a magazine for service users by service users, and asked if I would like to write a piece. I said, look Mark, I've never written anything like that. And he mentioned the key word to me, support. I'll support you to do that. So instead of excluding me, he supported me to do it. Wait till hear what happened next. So I said, yeah, I'd be interested in that, Mark. Then he dropped the next bombshell. He said, the meeting's in London. Can you imagine me going across the car park in Morrison's there for a cup of coffee? And I thought, what on earth have I agreed to? But it was okay. My support worker was going to take me to London, do a bit of shoplifting while I was in the meeting, and support me to come back. Day before I was due to travel, got a phone call off my support worker saying she was unwell and everything would have to be cancelled. Don't know why, but I said, can I go on my own? All agreed I could go on my own the next day. Never forget, I got to the central station the next morning. I was sweating, having panic attacks. I hadn't even passed Durham and I thought I was lost. Got all the way to King's Cross. Another service user met me, took me to Holloway Road on the tube. That's another experience in itself. And I sat in the editorial board meeting. I never said hello to Mark, never spoke to anybody. But when I got